Hi, and thank you for watching. Today I wanted to talk about Bagua's first change. The first change across the styles, one interesting thing about it is that it is said to encapsulate everything about all of the other changes. The other curious thing about the first change is that it's usually a very short and simple change. Some of the changes in some of the styles can be very long, very complicated. But the first change is always something where there's a step in, there's a step out, and then coming back onto the circle line. Meaning that you're walking through and you do a closing step, kai bu, and then an opening step, bai bu. And then from there, there's a technique to get you back onto walking your circle. Now, different Bagua styles vary greatly. This is because the founder, Dong Haichuan, taught each of his students, and he taught them differently based on their skills, ability, and previous experience. And so you have within Bagua huge amounts of variation from one style to the next, because even the first generation of students, they were not practicing the same things exactly. The principles underlying it were always the same, but the way it was being practiced, the way it was emphasizing different techniques varied according to the aptitude of each student. And so from one generation to the next, we see this huge variety of change. So even the first change in, say, Jiang style compared to Yin style, compared to Cheng style, not the same techniques, not the same stepping, so on and so forth. I know Magui style, I know Jiang style. They're very different from each other. But looking at that first change and looking not at the differences of how they do the first change, but what is similar about them might give us some clues about what they mean when there's that understanding that the first change, despite its simplicity, contains everything you need for all the changes that follow. My thinking right now, what I wanted to share with you today, is that it has not to do with footwork or technique. It has everything to do with positioning, facing into the circle, facing onto the circle line, facing away from the center of the circle, coming back. So my thinking is that this is what they mean by what is the essentials of Bagua that come in that first change. Because of course Bagua is entirely about the strategy of your position in relation to the other person and shifting that always to your advantage. So the walking in the circle, you start in one direction. The change is a short routine of movements that train different techniques, different strategies, but also gets you turned around, so then you're walking in the other direction. The first change from here, if we look at Jiang style is coming through here. There's that closed step, come through, and there's the opening step. From there, coming around, and then set up to walk the other way. Magui style, same general idea, but the way it looks and the way it's performed is actually quite different, right? Here's the closed step. There's the open step. Come through, horizontal circle, and set. The thing that remains similar to them, as far as I am noticing now, is that there are 8 positions to think about. The first position here, facing into the circle. The body's going on the circle line, going in one direction, but the intent and the focus, the guard and the attack, are into the circle. From here, there is bringing the arms and the intent onto the circle line here. That's the second. From the second, there's the change and the fourth. From the second, the third is the change. Fourth is going onto the circle line the other way. You could do this change just by coming here and then going back. but is never done with a straight linear motion from facing into the circle, first position, first direction, to here, second direction. Third is this transition, which is always one way or another coming through without, by curving it. And then fourth position, pressing onto the circle line. Fifth position, pushing off the circle line, just on a tangent. Sixth is with your back away from the center of the circle, back to the opponent. Seventh, transitioning onto the circle line again. 8, facing into the center of the circle. So those are the 8 positions. If I'm facing the same way as you, doing it Magui, from here facing into the circle, 1. Step in, 2. This change here where we rotate and refine the pivot point from the shoulder to the hip, getting that lined up, is 3. And then 4 is connecting everything from here, do that drag and step onto the circle line, 4. Then there's the opening of the foot, and that change brings us so that we're pushing not onto the circle line, but just off the circle line to the outside of the circle. And then from there coming through, back to the circle. There's another change as we sweep back this way onto the circle line, adjust the inside foot facing into the circle, going the other way. So those are the 8 postures, those are the 8 directions, thinking about yourself in relation to an opponent going this way, in a relation to an opponent going this way, from there going just to the outside of them, coming through, facing behind them with your, facing with your back in relation to them, transitioning, and then again coming into something that's more comfortable as far as Bagua is concerned, where you're set up here but aiming your body so that your feet can take you on a different direction. Those are the 8 movements. We see that same thing but with Jiang style, from here, facing into the circle, coming, closing onto the circle line, wrapping, and then 4 is pushing out on the circle line. Pushing off the circle line, stepping, using our back towards the circle, sweeping through, coming onto the circle line here, and then the 8th posture, facing back into the circle. That is my current thinking on the first change and its importance in the training process. So I hope that's useful for you. Keep training, keep learning, and we'll see you again. Take care.